Did you know that most people check their phone 96 times every day? That happens every 10 minutes. Stay until the end because we're going to give you the best tips on how to control the release of dopamine from social media. First, let's talk about what dopamine is. One type of neurotransmitter is dopamine. Neurotransmitters are chemical messages that help our brains and bodies talk to each other. Dopamine is unique because it is a key part of our brain's reward system. Think about how happy you are when you eat your favorite dessert, how satisfied you are when you finish a job, or how warm you feel when someone compliments you. Dopamine is what makes you feel good and make you happy. But it has an effect on more than just pleasure. Not only that, but dopamine is also closely linked to drive. This is what pushes us to set goals, work toward them, and look for enjoyable experiences. Now that you know what dopamine does for pleasure, reward, and drive, you can see how it is connected to our screens and how the digital world uses this powerful neurotransmitter so well. To fully understand how technology and social media have affected our reward systems, we need to go back in time to a time before smartphones and the internet. Our ancestors didn't tweet or post selfies, but they did a lot of things that made them feel good, like hunters successfully catching prey or gatherers finding ripe berries. These successes weren't just about survival, they were also about dopamine-driven pleasure and reward. Social interactions were also very important. For example, they had to form tribes, work together on hunts, and bond over common activities in order to stay alive. To make things more interesting, our brains were formed over millions of years, which is a very different time from how quickly technology is changing things. For eons, our dopamine rewards came in spurts, a successful hunt today, a bonding ritual tomorrow. But in the blink of an evolutionary eye, we've gone from foraging in forests to scrolling through feeds. Modern technology, especially social media, offers a nearly constant stream of dopamine hits, from likes and shares to instant messages, all available at the tap of a screen. Evolution moves at a slow, steady pace, while technical progress moves at the speed of light. This makes me wonder how flexible our brains are, and what might happen if there is such a big change in how dopamine is delivered. We can't imagine our lives without social media sites. As we move further into the digital age, they've shown to be more than just places to talk and share. They're now powerful machines that control our brain's reward system in ways we couldn't have imagined before. Instant gratification is a big part of why people like social media so much. Imagine posting a picture, a thought, or a part of your life online, and within seconds you start getting feedback in the form of likes, shares, comments, and retweets. These aren't just digital compliments, they're dopamine hits. Every interaction tells our brains that we've done something good and that our peers agree with us, which makes us feel more appreciated. It's not just the speed that makes social media so addicting, it's also the unknown. You can't be sure when or from whom the next like or comment will come, which adds to the excitement. Every time you check your phone, there's a chance that you'll see a new notification, message, or validation. This means that while sometimes you might check your phone and find nothing, other times you might find everything. It's interesting that this feature isn't just found on social media. If it reminds you of anything, it's because it looks a lot like gambling, especially slot machines. The pull to refresh feature that many apps use looks a lot like a slot machine lever. You pull it down, and just like spinning the reels, you wait to see what you'll get. Sometimes you get a bunch of notifications, and sometimes you don't. But just like gamblers, you don't give up. This comparison has very important implications. Casinos have long been linked to addiction, with slot machines being especially good at keeping gamblers hooked. Refreshing your feed, which seems like a harmless action, has a lot in common with gambling. Both are driven by dopamine, take advantage of people's need for rewards and change, and can become compulsive if not stopped. Understanding how social media works doesn't mean you hate technology or want to go back to a time before computers. Instead, it gives you a better picture of how you interact with the digital world. Knowing how our actions are controlled by algorithms helps us make smart decisions. There is a complex field of neuroscience behind the colorful interfaces, pinging notifications, and never-ending scrolls that explains why we are so attached to social media. The digital world isn't just a place to connect and share, it's also a powerful place where our brain chemistry is always at work. Several research studies have looked into how the brain reacts to social media. MRI scans, which show how our brains are working, have shown some interesting patterns. For example, when people get social media notifications, parts of the brain related to pleasure, reward, and social cognition become very active. For example, the ventral striatum lights up, which is a key part of the dopamine reward system. This suggests that the simple act of getting a notification can trigger a dopamine release, echoing feelings of pleasure and reward. But there's a deeper psychological factor at play as well. This is called FOMO, or fear of missing out. It's the anxiety that many people feel when they think they're missing out on fun or rewarding things. Social media, where everyone's highlights are always visible, makes FOMO worse because people want to stay up to date and expect dopamine hits from new content and interaction. Also, using social media has turned into a self-perpetuating feedback loop. It starts with posting something. When likes, shares, and comments start coming in, our brains get dopamine hits, which reinforces the behavior. When we feel good about the feedback we get, we naturally want to repeat that experience, which leads to more posting. This cycle, post, receive feedback, experience pleasure, and post again, becomes a rhythmic dance, one that many find hard to step away from. But it's important to remember that this dance isn't necessarily bad. Social media sites are meant to help people connect and express themselves. The problem starts when the need for digital approval takes over real human connection, and the feedback loop turns into a spiral that hurts mental health. When you look into the science behind our screens, you'll see a world where psychology and technology meet. It shows a digital ecosystem where every like is more than just a virtual thumbs up. It's a complex mix of neurochemical reactions, evolutionary tendencies, and modern social pressures. Further into the digital world, you'll find that algorithms control everything. These aren't just lines of code, they're complex systems that control what we see online, how we interact with it, and how we act. At the heart of social media's irresistible pull are algorithms that are carefully designed to keep us interested. All of your actions, every like, comment, and even the length of time you look at a post are recorded by the algorithm. These data points are used to figure out your likes and dislikes and how you behave. As a result, the more you interact with a certain type of content or user, the more your feed will reflect those likes. In a way, social media sites act like mirrors, showing you a world that matches your preferences. Why does personalization work so well? Because it plays on deep-seated human needs, the need to be accepted and to feel like you belong. When your feed is constantly filled with content that matches your beliefs, interests, and values, it makes you feel like you belong. It's like the platform is constantly agreeing with you and validating your choices and preferences. This approval, along with the dopamine hits from interacting with others, makes you feel good. A sense of belonging is also boosted by algorithms, which create a space where users feel understood and cared for. People naturally seek out communities and places where they feel accepted and seen. If our digital worlds become too closed off, we risk losing touch with different points of view and larger conversations in society. Social media gives us constant pleasure and reward. It might seem like an endless party for our brains. But, as with most things in life, there's a breaking point. Too much of this digital gratification can cause dopamine surges that, over time, might make our brains less sensitive to the neurotransmitter. To put it more simply, the more often we chase and receive these digital highs, the harder it is to feel the same level of pleasure and satisfaction. As we become more involved in digital activities and try to get more likes, shares, and approvals, something strange happens. We feel more and more empty inside. The initial happiness of digital interactions can slowly be replaced by a need for more, a desire that gets harder and harder to satisfy. It's like chasing a moving target that moves away faster than we can get close to it. This constant pursuit has many effects. One is a loss of motivation in other areas of life. When the digital world offers instant gratification, longer-term and often more meaningful tasks that require patience and persistence may seem less appealing. This can show up in many ways, from less productivity to a general lack of interest in activities that were once enjoyed. Also, the lines between healthy engagement and addiction can become fuzzy. The overwhelming need to share every moment, the need to check our devices for notifications all the time, The anxiety that comes from being away from them can all be signs of a deeper dependency that's fed by dopamine-driven feedback loops. Another big effect is the social comparison trap. As we scroll through our feeds, which are full of edited highlights of other people's lives, it's easy to start comparing our everyday lives to everyone else's highlight reel. This can hurt our self-esteem, making us feel inadequate, and start a cycle where we need more digital approval to make up for it. Dopamine-driven digital interactions can be exciting, but there is a catch. If you don't use them mindfully and set limits, the platforms that offer connection and validation can make you feel burned out, empty, and have a skewed sense of your own worth. Here are our top tips for controlling the amount of dopamine you get from social media. Now that we know more about the complicated relationship between social media and dopamine, it's clear that too much use can cause a lot of problems. But there is good news. Knowing how things work at the base level helps us form healthier digital habits. Here are some steps you can take to help control the release of dopamine from social media and maintain a healthy digital life. Digital detox. This may sound scary, especially in today's world of constant connectivity, but taking breaks from social media can be very relaxing. Whether it's a weekend or a week-long break, these detox periods give our brains a chance to reset and stop being controlled by dopamine. 2. Mindful usage. Instead of mindlessly scrolling through feeds, become more aware of why and when you're on social media. 3. Turning off notifications that aren't necessary. Not every like, comment, or share needs your immediate attention. By turning off notifications that aren't necessary, you reduce the element of surprise that keeps you interested. This way, you decide when to interact with content instead of being sucked in by every ping. 4. Setting set times for checking social media. Discipline can be very helpful. Set times during the day for checking social media, like once in the morning and once in the evening. Doing other activities that increase dopamine. Social media isn't the only way to get dopamine hits. Many activities that you do offline can be just as rewarding, if not more so. For example, exercise releases endorphins, which make you feel good, and hobbies like painting, reading, and cooking give you a sense of accomplishment. And let's not forget the unbeatable joy of face-to-face social interactions. A heartfelt chat with a friend or a family get-together can offer deep, genuine connections that no digital platform can replicate. In conclusion, the digital age brings problems, but it also gives us knowledge that makes us stronger. When we look at how dopamine and social media are connected, it's clear that finding a balance between the digital and real worlds is very important. Please share your experiences and thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.